Hi guys, what's up? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction, and we're here for UFC 286, Edwards versus Usman 3 from the O2 Arena in London, England. And I like this card. I know it's caught a lot of flack because Dana said we're going to bring the biggest, baddest show to the UK, and it's not. But they've got a title fight, they've got a great co-main event, and they've got some interesting fights really throughout the card that I'm looking forward to kind of looking into a little bit. Coming into the event with my picks have been pretty solid this year, I'll be honest with you. I think I'm doing a lot better than I thought I kind of was going to do. I thought I was going to fluff in some picks, but actually come through. I'm sitting at like 73% on my picks on so far this year, so that's not bad. And lost about a unit on Saturday night, which kind of stopped my 9-event win. I think it was 8 events in a row that I'd won betting wise after the kind of dreadful start to the year I had. So, like I say, all in all, very, very good. And this card, I'm looking forward to kind of getting into it and seeing where we go here. So, really looking forward to the main event because I don't think anybody saw Lerone having the belt. I certainly didn't. And he pulled out one of the great spots of 2022 with that finish over Kamaru Usman. But as always, throw a like on the video, comment, subscribe. Appreciate all the support. And let's get into it. And we're starting our way down in the women's flyweight division. This fight really interests me. I've got 3 bets up, by the way, and I'm probably going to have my biggest ever bet that I'm going to make at some point this week. We've got Veronica Hardy against Juliana Miller. Veronica Macedo, which you might have known from in the past. She obviously married the great Dan Hardy, who's a guy I'm actually just a big fan of. He's just the nicest guy, and he knows what he's doing talking about fights. So, interesting fight here with Veronica, who's 6-4-1, coming back after a 3-year layoff against Juliana Miller, 3-1 record. Both around a similar age, and that's kind of interesting on the Veronica Hardy side for the simple reason she's 27 and she's been away for 3 years. But she's stayed fully immersed in the sport, even though she hasn't fought in that amount of time. Obviously, she's got married to Dan Hardy, who has pretty much a gym on his doorstep, and he's forever working at different organizations or whatever. Veronica, excuse me, she's been commentating, she's been doing breakdowns with Dan Hardy on his YouTube channel, on the Full Reptile YouTube channel. So she's still been immersed in the sport. She's got herself better after some health issues. There was concussion issues. And for the first time ever, after listening to some interviews, she looks like she's really in a settled place, one gym where she's, I think she's probably going to have the best camp that she's ever had. Now, is that going to be maybe a fight too early? Maybe we'll see the best of her maybe outside of this fight, whether that be in the UFC. But overall, as a fight, I think she's fairly solid. Not had the kind of best looks kind of in the UFC outside of the Viana fight there, where she caught a beautiful armbar. But she's kind of got that taekwondo background, a lot of side kicks, kind of flurries forward a little bit, can get caught with some shots. Like I say, she has got some jiu-jitsu skills as well, but she is just a little undersized, especially in her early fights in the UFC when she was at 135, which wasn't the greatest look. Where you've got Miller, who's the tough champion, still very green in my opinion, not a good striker, but she's got a devastating ground game and she's got a will to win, which is not like many others in the UFC, honestly. I think this girl has just got an absolute will to win fights. And this is what interests me in this one here, because I think I'll put the betting lines up straight away. Like -400 on the Miller side, I just think is super, super high on a green fight like this. I can kind of understand it a little bit because Veronica's been away and she's not been the best of form in the UFC. But for me, I just think Veronica has been in the best spot of her career, a settled camp, like an actual camp where it's been kind of evolved around her. She's working with a nutritionalist that Paddy Pimblett works with, and she looks like she's just getting the good looks. She's went down to a GB top team in London. They've got a lot of girls that have got fights coming up right now in Japan, in America, in Europe. So they're all really fighting at the same time. the way this fight, I think Veronica's live. I think she's very, very live, and I was very, very kind of close to betting her yesterday at plus 300, and actually saw a plus 340, and I still might bet her depending on where the line goes. But I'm kind of trying to be smart here and think, right, there's better spots in the card where I should be betting, and maybe not be betting on a fight like this. I think that on the ground, both girls can have a little bit of success. I don't think Macedo is going to be a fish out of water down there, but if she is on the bottom and she has Juliana on top, she has got devastating ground and pound, because she is so long and languid down there, and she's got jiu-jitsu skills. You've seen that in the past. I've seen her taken down. I think eventually this fight will end up on the ground, but I am not writing off Veronica down on the ground. I think she can have spots here, but she just can't be on bottom for too long. But I think most of this time, I think the fight's going to be kind of on the feet. There will be spots on the ground. Like I say, I don't know whether I'm going to bet this fight. I think it's probably best, if I'm being smart, to just completely stay away. Don't get drawn in. If any side I am betting, it's definitely going to be on the Veronica side. And I'm going to, like I say, this is just a picks predictions. I'm seeing a lot of people go with Miller. I can see why. She's a massive favourite. She's got a lot of things that you like. But I like Veronica Hardy to just, I think, shock a lot of people. Come out here and just look the best ever. Now, she could come out and get steamrolled. But like I said, I think we've got more to see from Veronica Hardy going forward. Whether it's, like I say, whether it's going to be in the UFC, because this maybe might be a do or die fight for Veronica. But for me, I'm going to pick her. I'm going to pick her via decision. Like I said, Juliana's still super green. That might not be the kind of best pick for you there, but I'm going to take a shot in underdog. Why not in that one there? So Veronica Hardy for the win there. Jai Herbert against Ludovic Klein is up next. Another interesting fight here. I like both guys, honestly. I like the way Jai Herbert fights. Very aggressive, comes after you. It's pretty well rounded, but he has a big kind of problem, albeit being his chin, which is not great. And then you've got Ludovic Klein, who's a guy I've been fairly high on since before his UFC tenure, and he's come in here, and I think he's looked okay in spots, and I think he's looked a little bit out of sort in spots. I mean, he was an underdog to Shane Young coming in there. That was just a massive, I know it was short notice. Come out there, the patented head kick that he's got, and then kind of move forward. I thought he won this fight against Mike Trezano. Honestly, I thought that he should deserve the nod, but it's what it is. Sub by Nate Landwehr, he just kind of got ran through there a little bit. And then he's coming off 2 wins. Devontae Smith, who was a bit of a fraud, honestly. People were hyping that guy up. And then Mason Jones, great win, in my opinion, against a very tough guy, and really just shut him down and was just great in that fight. But like I say, he will look to, I think, predominantly keep it standing, maybe clinch up a little bit, where you've got the Black Country banger here and Jai Herbert coming off a very, very, very nice win over Kyle Nelson via decision. I don't think many people really envisioned that fight going that long. I like him. He's long, languid, he's massive for the division, but it's hard to really trust him. I mean, that fight there, he hurt the really good Ilia Topuria. Now, I know Topuria was fighting up a division, but a really solid first round there. But then the chin kind of got caught in the second round, and that was the end of him. Beat Camelworthy. He really can't take a shot, so that's not a surprise to me there. And then, I mean, these two fights, Masaran Duba, he was doing very well in that fight before getting caught. And then in this one, he just got kind of ran through by a buzzsaw and Hanato Moicano. So I think this fight is very, very close. I'm going to lean on the Ludovic Klein side just because I still think that he can catch the chin of Jai Herbert. But I also think that Jai can maybe come forward and maybe hurt Ludovic Klein here. But Jai's 100% going to look to come forward in this fight. I am like 55-45 in the side of Ludovic Klein. I think he takes it via close decision. I think both guys could probably end up getting hurt in this one. For me, I'm going to pick Ludovic Klein for the W there. Joanne Calder Wood against Luana Carolina, who's kind of returning to the spot of kind of a murder elbow that she caught off. What's her name? Molly McCann last time out. So she's returning to the kind of scene of the crime there. That's coming on nearly a year, and I'm glad she took that year off because that was a devastating knockout. I mean, an absolute horrible knockout. And before that, 2 wins over Lupe Godinez and a split over Poliana Botelho, where Jojo, it's fair to say that she is definitely on her last legs, I think, in her career. I mean, how old is she now? 37, coming off 3 L's. Lauren Murphy fought for the title. Taila Santos fought for the title, could have had the title. Alexa Grasso, the champion. So she's fought the kind of elite fighters of the division, very much ranked fighters. And you know what Jojo's going to come out and do? She's going to come out here and look to throw down, Muay Thai specialist. She always has been. But I think right now she's come out and said, like, her career's, she's maybe only got a couple of fights left. She's talking retirement. That's never a good sign. But she's taken a major step down, in my opinion, from the people that she has faced. And I just like her to be more active in this one. I think she can use those front kicks, get in there, swing some heavy leather. And if this predominantly stays a stand-up fight, I think that Jojo's going to win that fairly convincingly, honestly. But I hear that she's coming out with a retirement talk. She has a striking, a reach disadvantage here. But she has come out a good gym in Syndicate MMA. I don't know how much her will is kind of left in the fight game. I'm going to pick Jojo, like a pioneer kind of Scottish MMA, especially in the UFC. But I think she gets it done there via decision. Flyweight division. The White Kong, Jake Hadley against Malcolm X Gordon. If you've heard me in these before, before he came into the UFC, I'm a big fan of Jake Hadley. I think he's definitely going to be a ranked fighter. I think he came into the UFC, there was all that kind of stigma of him coming off the Dynamite Contender Series, where it wasn't a good look from what he was supposedly doing in the background of the fight, but fought well in the fight, beat Mitch Raposo, who I think is a fairly solid fighter. And then this L here, in hindsight, I don't think it's a bad one against Alan Nascimento, because you've seen he's got a takedown game and a really heavy top game. And that's somewhat what you can get at Jake Hadley a little bit. He can take you down also, but you can maybe be a little bit dominant in positions on top of them there. And that's kind of what happened in that fight. Got taken down, UFC debut, and then came forward there against Carlos Candelario, got the submission there. Malcolm Gordon has just been kind of fed what it seems like to kind of prospects, kind of non-stop. Coming off 2 wins there, younger brother Figgy again, and then you got Dennis Bondar there, which was a bit of a anomaly because it was an injury. And then, like I say, I thought he fought very valiantly against Muhammed Mokaev, gave him a really solid, tough fight. But ultimately, can't trust this guy's chin. He will kind of drop down for guillotines and so on. This guy, Jake Hadley, is a far better striker. I think he can hurt him on the feet. I think he can wrestle him. I also think he's got a submission game. So I think you know where I'm going with this one here. Jake Hadley, I've got him parlayed up. Chalky, he's over -300. I got my -310 parlayed up with someone further on the main card there. But I like White Kong to kind of move to 10-1. I fully expect him to probably start calling out Muhammad Mokaev, because that looks to me like a grudge match in the UFC, which they have to face each other one day. But the pick is going to be Jake Hadley in that one there. Christian Leroy Duncan makes his UFC debut against Dusko Todorovic. This fight here has all my eyes on it this week, because if you've seen my video, I put out 10 prospects the UFC should sign in 2023. This guy was going to be my number one. And then just as I was about to release the video, Cage Warriors at the end of last year, they said they got signed. So I've had some conversations with some really sharp people who are on the Dusko side. I've also had some really conversations with some really sharp people who are heavy on the side of Christian Leroy Duncan. And for me, I'm firmly on the Christian Leroy Duncan side here, and I think I'm going to lay down probably my biggest ever bet on Christian Leroy Duncan this week. I'm not one of these max bet guys, but I think I'm going to put down a max bet on Christian Leroy Duncan. Now, let's get some of the things that maybe is not the greatest look on him. Can be held down. Maybe not the greatest wrestler, greatest grappler, but I have seen him get, with his back against the mat, get back to his feet. I have seen him reverse position. I have seen him, like I say, come back from having like really tough first round, to come out in the second, third round and land something atomic. If you let this guy, and his volume's not the greatest either, but if you let this guy at distance get off some of the flashy strikes that he does, I mean, he throws front kicks, axe kicks, wheel kicks. I think Mark Weir's his coach. If you know him from many a year ago back in the UFC, he was a funky fighter, and Christian Leroy Duncan, his kind of protege, kind of rubs off a little bit like that here. Vast amateur record. I think it was like 20 to 25 fights. Lost a few good guys, honestly, in there. There's a man by Berg Gustafsson who he lost to, who's fighting in KSW, is a really solid fighter. Explosive, athletic, can hurt you at any moment of the fight. Switches stances really well, pops a nice jab, like I say, pops a front kick out there that can really hurt you. This guy hits you with some massive strikes, and you've seen that. The Milan fight, massive flying knee after getting controlled in the first round there. Will Curry caught him with a spinning back elbow right in the top of the head in their rematch, I think it was, after the kind of weird finish to the first fight. But he can be controlled a little bit through a grappler. And Dusko might have some of the kind of accolades to maybe do that for a little bit in this fight. Would it surprise me if this guy comes out and wins first round? No. But I just think at some part of this fight, he is going to get caught with something that's going to take him out. This fight here, I thought was a horrible look against Jordan Wright. Jordan Wright beat him up in that first round, and Jordan Wright just gassed his ass off really bad in that one. And Dusko, being a warrior, kept on going, got the opportunity, got some massive ground and pound, stopped him. And I mean, his wins aren't the greatest, but wins in the UFC are still kind of precious things. I think the Quan Townsend was the other one. Maki Pitolo here, a stoppage with his L's to Chidi, very dangerous striker. Gregory Rodriguez is just an all-around dangerous guy. And Puna is also a dangerous striker, and he got caught there. Don't like this guy's chin. I think if Christian lands anything relevant striking-wise, he's going to knock him out. He's been at Tiger Muay Thai. He's been training his wrestling with Phil Hawes, who's also out there. I just love this spot. Minus 210 over here in the UK. You can get minus 188. I'm thinking where the line's going to go. I don't think it's actually going to go any lower than minus 188. I'll probably miss out maybe on that. I'll probably minus 200. But for me, I'm picking Christian Leroy Duncan. I think he gets him out. I think he's going to catch him. Might have a few squirrely bits in this fight, but ultimately, I think he lands the kill shot and knocks this guy out. Trajectory in the UFC, I think he can be potentially a ranked guy, top 15. Much outside of that, I don't know, but he could grow inside the UFC as well. But I'm thoroughly looking forward to watching the former Cage Warriors champion making his debut here and seeing his run in the UFC. I'm a big fan of his. So Christian Leroy Duncan via knockout, rounds 2, rounds 3. I think he gets it done there. Lerone Murphy against Gabriel Santos. This is a fun fight. This was put together 7 to 10 days before the fight here. This guy's been in some bangers. If you've not seen what's it, this one? Which one? That one is that one. This fight, go watch it. Unbelievable fight. Gets hurt, but ultimately ends up stopping the fight there. And I think it's the second round. And then that's another fun one then against Delano, liver punch there and ground strike. He's a really solid addition to the UFC, former LFA champion. Lerone Murphy was supposed to face Nathaniel Wood. That was my most anticipated fight of the entire card, honestly. 2 British upstarts fighting one another, young upstarts as well, youngish. 31 years old here, you've got Lerone, and he's still kind of in the early kind of part of his UFC career, but he's looked good since that draw. Ramos, I think, is a dangerous fighter, even though I don't know what he was up to last week. Douglas Silva de Andrade, tough. Amirkhani, tough. Was getting taken down a lot in that first round, but ultimately caught a knee in that second, and Amirkhani can be taken out in that spot. But he is coming back. I think he got hit by a car and had a fairly bad injury. So this is the first time, a year and a half nearly, that he's coming back. But he's a really solid fighter. But I think I'm seeing a lot of love for this guy on the kind of socials this week. Twitter, Reddit, I've seen a little bit on. The betting lines, I think, open quite short, and he's kind of being bet up a little bit. But this guy is very dangerous. But if this guy had a little bit more of camp and was maybe in, I don't know whether he's been in fight shape, whether he had a fight scheduled, whatever it may be, saying I just fought literally a month ago actually, so he'll still be in fairly decent shape, but he's probably sat back, relaxed a little bit. I think this guy's going to have some really fun fights in the UFC. I just don't know whether he's going to beat Lerone this week. I think I could see him taking a round off Lerone Murphy, but I think overall as a fighter, I think Lerone is just a little bit more solid, the better minute winner. So I'm going to take him via 29-28 decision. But looking forward to seeing this guy, Gabriel Santos, going forward in the UFC. Muhammed Mokaev against Jafel Filho is up next. This to me is a fight where I think Muhammad should win fairly convincingly, honestly. I don't see much spectacular from this guy to really trouble him, if I'm being honest with you. He's coming off the Dana White Contender Series, that win over Roybert Echeverria. I mean, like I say, and he's got a run of wins here where he's not lost. 14-2. He's got a lot of experience, but so has Muhammad Mokaev, just not professional experience, obviously. But the guy, I mean, this is his fourth fight in a year, and he's coming off like a massive injury as well. So that's interesting to me. I think has he maybe rushed back? I don't know. I saw that injury. I think he had surgery in his arm. That was at a first round stoppage. Cody Durden, Charles Johnson, just rinse, repeat takedowns. And like I say, he kind of had, I think from what I remember in this one, he had an illness that week, flu type symptoms. Wasn't on his best days. Still got the finish though. He's going to rinse, repeat takedowns here as long as he doesn't get caught with anything fancy on the ground from Filho here. I think he runs out a fairly convincing winner, like minus 800 to minus 1,000. He could possibly maybe get a late stoppage. I don't think so. I think he rides out decision. So Muhammed Mokaev here to, I mean, he's at like number 8 ranked in the flyweight division, I want to say. I could be wrong. Number 10, 8 to 10 in that region. So he's going to start facing better guys very, very soon. This to me is just a win for Muhammed Mokaev, whatever way I look at it. So yeah. Sam Patterson against Yanal Ashmoz. This is interesting because this guy, I thought he'd come off the Dana White Contender Series and he's just been signed to face Sam Patterson. I know a little bit about Sam Patterson, not a hell of a lot. He came through the Brave scene, a lot of submissions, very, very long, can pump out a lot of output. But ultimately, I think he gets most of the fights to the ground and he wins down there. This guy, I've not watched a hell of a lot of him, don't know a hell of a lot about him, fighting out Israel, 6-0. I watched I think it's a CWFC fight, I can't remember. That one, yeah, I watched this one and I watched that one there, the Challenger Series. So he's really been brought into these Challenger Series to try and get himself onto the like win a contract to get onto like the televised stuff again in the leagues and such. And like I say, it seems like he's got some heavy power. But outside of that, I think that Sam Patterson pretty much has him covered. But like I say, I don't know a hell of a lot about this guy. I don't really want anything to do with Sam Patterson. The pick is going to be Sam Patterson. I think he could get it done inside the distance via a decision, via submission there, sorry. Another Scottish fighter, Chris Duncan, makes his UFC debut against Omar Morales, fighting out of Venezuela here. 2 Venezuelan fighters here after Macedo. Yeah, this guy, Chris Duncan, is fun to watch. Like, he is a destroyer. He comes for you, looks to land heavy blows, puts himself at risk at all times. And like I say, got his shot in the Dana White Contender Series and ran into that left hook from Slava Claus, knocked out senseless, came back. I think he fought Cage Warriors. He was signed to Cage Warriors, maybe. Never fought there. Or maybe fought the ones. No, he didn't. I think he signed with Cage Warriors, but never really officially fought for them. Got that win over Jonathan Carlos up here in Scotland, I believe it was. And then this fight here, I thought he was on his way out. Charlie Campbell was lighting his ass up. I still think Charlie Campbell's a really good prospect, by the way, so keep an eye on that. But he uncorked a missile straight down the pipe and knocked Charlie Campbell out like badly, very, very badly. But his aggression to me is just going to lead to ultimate downfall in the UFC. Now, Omar Morales, on the older side, you probably heard that from all the predictions if you watched this week. He is an older fighter, 37 years old. This is at lightweight, yet was a featherweight. Coming off 2 L's to Urus. Knockout, not the greatest look. Submission to Jonathan Pierce, not the greatest look, even though GSP is a very, very good fighter. And Medic could turn out to be decent, with wins there over Shane Young and Gabriel Benitez, which I think is a really great win. And I lost to Gigan there, which he was competitive. He was just outclassed. I've bet Omar Morales here, minus 110. I think he's the more cleaner striker, and if he avoids getting hurt in this fight, I think he's going to find the chin of Chris Duncan. He's too aggressive, in my opinion. I also think he can get takedowns. I think Chris Duncan's plan of coming forward, throwing shots, is ultimately going to be his downfall in this fight and going forward in the UFC. I just don't see him. I don't know whether he changes that aspect of just being uber aggressive, but I'm not writing him off to the point where he couldn't land a shot and knock Omar Morales out. I think Omar can kick at distance as well, maybe keep him obeyed. But I think he's just going to catch him with a counter and knock him out. I'm just not confident in the chin in Chris Duncan here. Like I say, I hope he wins, and I'll lose money on it. Scotland gets a win in the UFC. I'm all for that. I'll get money. I've won money. I've lost money. It is what it is. I've went against Scottish fighters, bet Scottish fighters. So if he wins, happy days. I lose a bit of money. It is what it is. I'll get it back somewhere else. Omar Morales, I think he can take him out, if not win a competitive decision. So Omar Morales for me there. Last fight, the prelims here. Jack Shore moves up to the 145-pound featherweight division as he faces off against Makwan, Mr. Finland, Amirkhani. Interesting fight. Big Jack Shore fan. Obviously, coming off that L to Ricky Simon, outclassed by Ricky Simon, who's a top 10 guy. I think the weight cut ultimately was just too much for Jack Shore. I think it's smart, honestly. I don't think he should, if he's struggling to really be compared with the guys in the top 10 there and struggling with the weight cut, move up. Now, he's not the biggest guy you're ever going to see in your life. Like, he's definitely smaller than Makwan. Makwan's big for the division. But he's got overall better boxing skills, I think. I think he's a really underrated striker. I think he's got a great ground game, great control. Makwan comes out there, looks to wrestle you, has some funky submissions, can tie you up a little bit, ultimately has a rotten gas tank. And I kind of think this could be the last fight we maybe see of him, depending what his contract situation is like, because, like I say, he took 3 L's there. Barboza, Camille Leclerc, Lerone Murphy, which he was winning until he wasn't. And that win over Mike Grundy was a big, big win there. Always dangerous. I just don't think he's going to get that often, Jack Shore. I think he's the better overall grappler, better wrestler. And I think he's got a great chance of getting Jack Shore, of getting Makwan out here very, very late in the fight. So, I mean, he's a heavy favourite. It's minus 500. If you're looking to bet that fight, maybe inside the distance, sober decision. If you can get that, see what the odds are for that. But I like Jack Shore there to win his first fight up at 145. Moving on to the main card, we've got Marvin Vettori against Roman Dolidze. This is a fun fight. I was really surprised by the amount of Italian fans that were in Paris last year for this guy. I think Di Chirico was in there as well, but this dude brought a lot of fans. If they were ever go to Italy with this guy there, geez, they could sell some tickets without a shadow of a doubt. He had a large contingent kind of to my back left. Hundreds of people were up there and they were all singing away. And like I say, he's coming off that L. I thought this guy was going to be a bit of a dick. I actually met him and he was actually the nicest dude. Such a nice kid. Massive for the division. Really just a solid overall fighter. Got that brick chin on him, brick head. Can take a shot well. Like I say, coming off an L to Rob Worker, I seen people talk Vettori up that week. And I was like, I think the worst matchup for him in that division is Robert Whittaker because he's so solid everywhere. And he only loses to the best guys, really. Izzy's beat him a couple of times. Robert's beat him there. He beat Paulo Costa, and that was a bit of a weird one because it was supposed to be 185, then 195, then went to 205, and that was just a banger of a fight in that one. But like I say, he beats these type of fighters. Roman Dolidze is a savage, though. Like, he is an absolute savage that you cannot write off whatsoever. Fairly old for the division, 34 years old, but this win here, I thought Jack Hermansson would have had his number, honestly. But the way he took out Jack Hermansson was like Jack Hermansson-esque with massive ground and pound. He tied him up and just absolutely smashed him. This guy can smash people. You've seen that against Phil Hawes. He's not got the greatest chin. And then you've seen that there where he hurt him and just absolutely cleared Kyle Dawkins out. I just think right now it's a little bit of a step too far in this division. I think Marvin Vettori is a lock top 3 guy in that middleweight division. Depending on what happens with Izzy and Pereira, he's right in line to fight for a title, probably outside of Whittaker. Depending if Pereira beats Izzy, then they're going to make Whittaker. And then he's probably next in line there. I just think right now it's a little bit too soon for Roman Dolidze. I think I don't see where he really has the massive advantage in this one. I think Vettori's got very serviceable striking, can clinch up, can get takedowns. The kind of the bigger finisher is definitely going to be Roman Dolidze. If you give him an opportunity to maybe try and submit you or hurt you in the feet, which you can do, you could be in a lot of trouble there. Ultimately, I'm going to pick Marvin Vettori. I think that he runs out a decision win there. I think he frustrates Roman Dolidze and runs away with a 30-27 in that one there. Moving on, we've got Jennifer Maia against the returning King Casey O'Neill. And I'm really interested in this fight. Obviously, Casey O'Neill, she's got that Scottish Aussie kind of background. I'm always trying to support the Scottish fighters. She's coming back after a big injury. Like, I think she tore her ACL like a year ago, just after the Modafferi fight. Undefeated, 9-0. I think I've beaten her in all her fights when you've seen some capacity via stoppage or whatever it may be, and she's just been a bit of a cash cow for me. And she's getting a massive step up. If you go from Procopio to Shevchenko to Modafferi to Maia, I think she's a top 10 girl. I think Roxanne was probably a ranked fight at one point, but this is the next logical step. And she's against someone who I think's got the better overall striking. She's the better boxer for sure. I think that Casey has been definitely, you can see in her fights in the UFC, like her overall striking has definitely got better. She's kind of slowed it down a little bit, but she's still very hittable, in my opinion. Roxanne was hitting her, gave her a black eye, lumped her up a little bit. But where Casey thrives is getting her hands on you. If she can bum rush you up against the cage, she looks to get takedowns. If she can get top position, she just goes. She wrecks through people, and she's did so in her UFC tenure. Sheena Dobson, Procopio, she got the sub there. She's an ever-improving fighter. I mean, she's only 25 years old. She's fighting over here in the British Isles. I hear she's going home to Scotland after this. Big fan of her. I think this is a tough fight, though, especially coming back off the injury, especially against a girl in Maia who's been around for a very long time, is solid, doesn't get stopped. She's been 5 rounds there with Valentina. She's been in Chikagan's a top 5 when their Firo's a top 5, and she's never out of her depth. She's just a little bit outclassed. So this is a massive step up. And I'm on the Jennifer Maia side. I've actually bet Jennifer Maia at plus 163. So you might have to kind of revoke my kind of Scots card because I'm picking against a couple of them this week. But I think this is a very tough matchup for Casey. And I think this is a really, if she wants to stay relevant in this division, Jennifer Maia has to win this fight. She loses this fight, she's dropping down to probably 12 to 15 ranking. She's going to take Casey's number if that. And she's going to be, she's 34. She has to kind of make it work now. The division's kind of changed up a little bit with Grasso being there. So she wins 2 or 3 fights convincingly. She could get herself a title shot. Don't see it. I think that if she can keep this fight on the floor, I think she can absolutely win rounds against Casey O'Neill. It's all about whether she stops takedowns. And she has stopped some in the past, but I've also seen her taken down. If Casey can get her relentless pressure going, get her hands on her, get her to the ground and have minutes up there, I don't think Maia will have much. I think she will have enough to get kind of back to her feet, but I can see rinse and repeat takedowns and her just losing out the kind of minutes of the fight. I don't think she gets stopped, but I think Gaethje can win rounds through a relentless pressure, relentless striking. She just goes. She doesn't stop. Like I say, I'm betting against a kind of Scottish fighter again. If I lose money, albeit that is what it is. But then Gaethje will kind of move herself into the top 10 of the division. She's going to be getting bigger step ups. This is a big step up to me, though. I think it's probably what she needs. Maybe not what she needs right now. Maybe she should have took an easier kind of fight where if there's an easier fight out there. But I'm taking Jennifer Maia for the win there. I think she wins the decision. And then we see, I think Gaethje will be back. She'll be back. I like Maia in this spot here. I think big step up. She can strike. Gaethje can get hit, but also, like I said, I'm not writing off Gaethje from getting takedowns and just kind of mauling her a little bit down there. But Jennifer Maia via decision is going to be my pick in that one there. Gunnar Nelson against Bryan Barberena. I'm going to lean on the Gunnar Nelson side. I don't really care an awful lot about this fight. I'm a big fan of Gunnar Nelson, but I mean, back in the day, he was so dangerous. I thought he was a guy, an underdog in that division that was going to be a factor, and it's not really turned out to be. So I thought that fight against Sato, I don't know how he didn't get Sato out of there. That was a bit of a weird one. But like I say, he's taking L's to the champion. Gilbert Burns, top 3. Ponzinibbio was a top 5 guy. He was close to fighting for a belt at one point. And then you've got Barberena, who's kind of in the last legs. I don't know how old he is, 33. Oh, he's younger than I thought he was going to be. Coming off that L to Rafael de Santos. I just don't think he can make the step up into that top 15. Maybe into the top 15 a little bit, but Gunny doesn't really fight enough to kind of warrant himself as a kind of top 15 guy. Back in the day, he was when McGregor was beating Chad Mendes. I think he was a ranked guy getting close into that top 10. I think that Gunnar has every opportunity to probably stop him here. He's got that funky karate style, great jiu-jitsu. Just don't get hit with anything and don't get caught by Barberena. I think you win this fight convincingly, but don't really have an awful lot for that one. Co-main event, great fight, lightweight division, former interim champ Justin the Highlight Gaethje against Ataman Rafael Fiziev. Ooh, what a fight this is. I think this is a really fun one before that main event. I think this is a passing of the guard in this division. I see Rafael Fiziev absolutely rinsing Justin Gaethje in this fight. Now, that's kind of hard to say because Gaethje is not one of these guys that's he's not easy to get out of there, but he is, like I say, he is easy to hit. He is a guy you can hurt in many different facets through submissions, through grappling, through striking. You can break him down. We have seen that from the top guys in the division do that. Your Poirier's broken down with leg kicks and so on. But he brings the fight every single time. He's dangerous every single time. I just think he is running into the wrong guy at the wrong time, in my opinion. I think Fiziev is... Someone said there was something on Twitter the other day. They were talking about the best strikers, and this guy wasn't mentioned. And I was going to mention it, and I was like, I'm just not getting involved because it might just stir up something. But I think pound for pound, I think he is the top striker probably in the UFC. I think he's electric with his striking. He's so accurate, pinpoint, dangerous. His feints, his footwork, his timing is amazing. I mean, he did get knocked out, so his chin, he can be taken out. So that's something that's a little bit concerning, especially against a guy like Gaethje who can hurt a lot of different fighters. But I just think this guy is going to break down Gaethje. I think Fiziev is going to break him down and take him out by the mid part of this fight. Just don't get caught. Fight smart. Pick your shots. Try and not get involved and be in the tornado with Justin Gaethje where you're swinging it and at a chance of getting knocked out. I'm going to pick Rafael Fiziev. I just think he's too electric with his strike. I think he's too crisp, too clean for Justin Gaethje. I don't think Gaethje's going to... I don't know why I'm talking about the wrestling because that's something that really doesn't come to the forefront with Justin Gaethje fights. So I'm going to pick Rafael Fiziev via knockout round number 2. I've got him parlayed with Jake Hadley for -110. I think that's a fairly solid parlay. I'm looking to kind of continue. I'm on a good streak of kind of nailing some 2-team parlays at the minute. So yeah, Fiziev is one of my more confident picks in this card, if I'm being honest with you. Knockout round 2. And the trilogy fight for the UFC welterweight championship. Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman 3. This really all stems back from like maybe 9-10 years ago, maybe not long as that, maybe about 8 years ago, when they first fought, both very young in their careers, in the UFC careers, I should say, where Usman wrestled to a dominant display in Florida there. And then both guys went on an absolute unreal streak of winning fights. We've seen kind of how they both went. Edwards won like 10 fights, I want to say 9-10 fights, where he moved himself up into the top 3, was forever looking for that championship fight. Usman probably went on to be one of the more dominant welterweight champions we've ever had, one of the greatest kind of champions we've had recently in the sport. And then they faced off in Utah last year. And Rocky started the fight great, got a takedown, was looking for submissions to rear naked choke against Kamaru Usman. Then from rounds 2, 3, and 4, Kamaru just systematically broke him down, pushed him against the cage, was level him with body work, just absolutely running through a little bit on Edwards, and you could see he was demoralized by his performance. And then you had his coach, I think his name's Dave Lovell, and I guess still get goosebumps. I watched it this afternoon, and that shit was unbelievable. When they say you need to pull it out the fire, you need to go for it. Come out there, looked aggressive in the 5th round, but still losing, in my opinion. And then something they worked on, that left high kick through the feint before it. Usman dipped to his right, that left kick came up, done. And as Leon says, pound for pound, headshot, dead. And then after that, like, honestly, I think it was one of the great feel-good stories of last year, especially for a UK fan, seeing Leon grab the belt there and just talking about these hard times in Jamaica, his family, and another UK champ. I mean, it's a big thing for over here. And now he's got the trilogy fight on home soil against probably, like I say, one of the best welterweight champions we've had in recent memory. But we've got like a 40-minute, near 40-minute sample size of these guys. And this guy in Kamaru Usman is just the better overall fighter. But I am interested now because Leon knows he can hurt him. He can hit him with one shot and knock him out. Usman has got to come back from that from the first time ever, where he's took a devastating knockout like that. So is he going to be a little bit scared to engage? Is he going to be a little bit... His confidence is definitely not going to be as high. Is he going to be a little bit more anxious coming into this one? I don't think he's got any need to be, because I think overall as a fighter, he is the better guy. There's a lot of love for Leon this week. A lot of good cappers I know that are on Leon Edwards, betting him plus 200. All the very, very best. I'm not going to have anything in this fight. I think Kamaru's going to come out here and fight very smart. I don't think he's going to want to engage as much as probably what he did, pushing back. I think if he gets those opportunities, he's going to look for takedowns and kind of dominate through that. Now, Edwards has made massive improvements in his takedowns, takedown defense over the years since that Usman fight. So he might be able to keep it standing there, and he has got some weapons there that can really cause Usman some trouble. I just think that Usman's going to kind of shut him down a little bit and win out. I think maybe a fairly boring decision, but do what you have to do to get that belt back. But there's always this thing with guys that lose their belts, that come try and get their belt again. It never, I think I saw it was 3-11. The win-loss, like getting their belts back, which is not the greatest percentage of getting your belt back. But I think Usman's built different, like I say, and I think he might go back to kind of old boring Usman, where there was a lot of talk with this guy. He's not the most fan-friendly fighter to watch. Then he went through where he was knocking guys out. He was dropping Colby Covington. He was knocking out Jorge Masvidal. He was knocking out Gilbert Burns. I still think he came out here and he could dominate for 25 minutes. So I'm going to pick Kamaru Usman via decision, and take the belt away back to Florida, back to Nigeria, and be the UFC welterweight champion once again. But would I like to see Rocky kind of hold the belt? I would, because it's the opportunity to maybe bring another big fight over here to the UK. We're always after more fights over here, just not in London. Come out of London. There's so many great places Manchester, Newcastle, Liverpool, Dublin, Glasgow. There's fights you can take it there. So, but yeah, I'm going to take Kamaru Usman for the win there in that one. So, guys, I appreciate you sticking around. It's come on to 45 minutes. I really, really do appreciate you sticking around. I was only planning to kind of go 30 minutes, but once I got rambling, it was great. If you could just throw a like in the video, it would be massive for me. Like I say, I'm trying to start up the channel again and get the views I previously was, and it's a little bit harder now once you kind of go out the algorithm. So you give me a thumbs up, a comment, whatever it may be. It would really, honestly, help me out. So I'm going to kind of go into here and just have a look. Let's see. I'm so glad you don't charge for your picks, because there's people that couldn't come close to you in that charge. I appreciate that, Wayne. I would love to get out there and like charge for my picks, but it feels me kind of being dirty doing that a little bit. Honestly, I think I could make a little bit of money out of it, and I could put it towards my kids. But like I say, it is what it is. My picks are on there. Bet with me tips. I'm a profitable gambler over the last 6-7 years. Follow me if you want. I know there are some people that do that, and I appreciate like some of the support that they give me. I get things wrong, but predominantly I get things right. So, yeah. Miller Mustard, Marcus Mustard. Sorry, brother. Miller Light, Miller Time, perhaps not. Like I say, I'm not the biggest one. I think she's got a lot of growing to do. HSB Miller will dominate. She absolutely could, in my opinion. Moy's Audio, I hope you're well, brother. Black Country Banger from Mark is there. The Meatball Hellbow. Yeah, HSB, I appreciate all these, brother. You've got Gordon. Oh, interesting. Leroy, Go Big or Go Home. Fight Not to Go the Distance. 20 amateur fights he's probably going about there. Leroy 2, High IQ. Let's Go Punisher I'm seeing in there. Edward Kelly. Did Mokaev say that he's getting shoulder surgery? No, he got it before. So he sustained that injury. I want to say he was in Thailand, and then got surgery. And I think he's rushed back a little bit too much. But I still think, like I say, he wouldn't be here if he wasn't confident in his shoulder and his injury. So everything must be good there. Yeah. Casey got touched up by Roxanne. Overhyped. Forza Thomas, hope you're well, brother. I'll be in the DMs tonight if you're around. I've kind of changed the bets up like we were speaking about. So, like I say, I hope you're well. Thank you very much, guys. We're back next week. I want to say for San Antonio, Cheeto against Corey Sandhagen. Like I say, throw a like on the video if you haven't already. It helps me out tremendously. Like I say, you can follow my bets at Bet MMA Tips. You can see how I'm doing my journey there to be a profitable bettor. All the very, very best. Plus also Cage Warriors this week. I'll have some bets for Cage Warriors. Hit me up in the DMs on Twitter if you ever want to speak about some fights. Until then, all the very, very best. Take care and thank you very much.